Well, isn't this exciting? The European Council, by unanimity, in accordance with simplified revision procedure, after consulting the European Parliament, of course the Commission, and the European Central Bank, adopted Decision 2011-199-EU, which, as we're all aware, amended Article 136 TFEU, which ultimately afforded the member states whose currency is the euro the right to establish a stability mechanism to safeguard the stability of the euro area as a whole. The infamous and contentious European Stability Mechanism, or simply put, ESM. Mr. Pringle would have us, the humble EU judiciary, tell heads of governments or states to do away with any prudent and preventative measures that might obviate further economic disaster, for reason little more than being a legal pedant.
I wouldn't go quite so far. He's entitled to his concerns.
By the way, who is Thomas Pringle?
The Scottish writer and poet, born late 18th century.
Yes, that's why I got out of my lovely home to talk poetry. Thomas Pringle, the one who caused the Irish Supreme Court to make use of Article 267. I advise soft drinks from now on.
I wasn't aware his name was Thomas. I'm taking a liking to him already.
He's a politician,
Oh dear.
a left-wing politician,
Oh, a double dear.
a patron of the People's Movement that campaigned against the Lisbon Treaty.
Do you still like him?
Not as much. How can anybody dislike the Lisbon Treaty?
He was also a Sinn Féin candidate in 2004.
Then I think that's all we need to know about Mr. Pringle. Unlike yourselves, I do have a semblance of a life, and I've propped my missus up in home at 10.
AM? I'm not joking, we have loads to get through.
Let's get on with it then.
Mr. Pringle, the politician, has come to the conclusion that Decision 2011-199 was unlawfully adopted pursuant to the simplified revision procedure because, contrary to the third paragraph of Article 48.6 TEU, he claims the competences conferred on the Union are increased. Article 48.6 essentially permits the European Council to adopt a decision amending all or part of the provisions of Part 3 TFEU, which includes economic and monetary policy, Titles 7 or 8.
8.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
I'm sure. The question we have before us is whether the decision is valid.
Which decision?
2011 at 199. Did that for you?
Having regard to the use of the simplified revision procedure pursuant to Article 48.6 TEU, and in particular whether the proposed amendment to Article 136 TFEU involves an increase in the competencies conferred on the Union in the treaties having regard to the content of the proposed amendment. In particular, whether it involves any violation of the treaties or of the general principles of law of the Union.
But before we get into the concerns of Monsieur Pringle, it would be prudent if we dealt with whether or not we have the competence to deal with the first question, as the decision is a matter of primary law. The Council and the Commission, as well as several countries, including Ireland, are of the opinion that we do not hold such jurisdiction under Article 267 TFEU.
I never realised our jurisdiction begins and ends where we bloody well choose. If Van Gent and Costa haven't told them what they need to know, then I fear nothing will.
Let's be serious for 2 seconds. I thought you were in a rush to see the missus. I suppose your jurisdiction doesn't stretch that far.
I don't know what you're laughing at. You hardly breathe when your missus around. I'm surprised she's let me out at all.
We are no longer together.
Oh shit, I'm sorry.
My condolences.
It's nothing. I'm a free agent now, enjoying my newfound freedom. She's found herself a toy boy, a lawyer, co-parent. He will tire of hers. Found himself something new to play with. I should never have married a barrister. They're all alcoholics, you know.
My mother was a barrister.
Okay, getting back to whether or not we can do whatever we want. Article 267 TFEU indent B affords us the right to give preliminary rulings concerning the validity of acts of the institutions, and the decision concerns an act of the European Council, which under Article 13.1 TEU, the European Council is listed as an institution. It therefore falls on the court to see that the law is observed under Article 19.1 TEU. So it would appear that we do have jurisdiction.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's good.
Okay, back to Monsieur Pringle. Issue relating to competence. The decision amends Part 3, so fulfills the requirement of Article 48.6. So there's no need to waste time on that.
Not so fast. We must ponder over each contention. It might be the case that the amendment also affects certain provisions in Part 1.
Namely,
Article 1192 TFEU, which concerns a monetary policy and exchange rate policy, which is the subject of Article 31C TFEU, and Articles 127 to 133 TFEU.
Also, Article 2821 at TFEU stipulates that the conduct of the monetary policy of the Union is to be conducted by the ECB and the central banks and the member states whose currency is the euro.
Article 31C TFEU endows exclusive competence to the Union in areas of monetary policy for member states whose currency is the euro.
What are we saying? Does Mr. Pringle have us cornered? And the left-wing socialists to destroy our wonderful creation, our beautiful child that we have nurtured?
Is there any chance that one might take this seriously?
Yes, and you're the one. I'm going for a piss.
Well, don't take all day.
Pringle will have us by the balls if he can place this in Part 1. But it can't get into Part 1. Damn you, Article 31C of the TFEU. Damn you.
it's the kids I feel sorry for. I was the one who had to tell them their nozzle was moving out.
Exclusive competence in monetary policy. That's it. Can it be a monetary policy? As simple as that.
You look forward to the day that your kids grow up, get big, and leave the home, and even have time to spend with your wife. And then your wife moves out of the nest and you are left with the kids. They seem content to stay at home for God knows how long.
What are you smiling at?
Nothing. Well, there's no point in me being modest. Whilst I was serving the fine wine with the surge rats, it dawned on me that in order to uphold the legalities of the decisions, we simply need to assert that the SM has nothing to do with the monetary policy.
Yes, I'm listening.
Well, that's as far as I got. I can only piss for so long, I'm not over.
Let's explore what the monetary policy entails, and if it appears to any extent whatsoever different from the functioning of the ESM, and then we can put our adversary down.
We might consider what a monetary policy entails, how it might be defined.
There's not so much of a definition provided within the treaty, but the objective is clearly outlined. Article 1271 of the TFEU stipulates the primary objective of the European system of central banks is to maintain price stability, no?
Yes. And that's reiterated in 2822 of the TFEU.
It should also be noted that Article 1271 is not applicable to the Member States with a derogation. The adoption of the ESM is an intergovernmental decision for the countries concerned. Moreover, Article 1191 TFEU requires the adoption of an economic policy. Getting back to the objective of the monetary policy, if we compare it to that of the ESM, we have a clear-cut basis for overcoming Mr. Pringle's contention, as the objective of the ESM is to safeguard the stability of the euro area as a whole, whereas monetary policy is concerned with price stability. Granted, the stabilisation of the area may have an impact on price stability, i.e. monetary policy, but safeguarding the EU area as a whole would have to be an economic policy, not a monetary one. You both seem confused.
Further elaboration would be most welcome at this point.
Look, if I was asked to come up with a monetary policy, and the first thing I said was my objective was to safeguard the stability of an area as a whole, making no reference to finance or currency, I'd be asked to make my objective more precise. In effect, my objective would have to change.
When you put it like that, I suppose you do have a valid point.
I hope we're all on the same page.
Yes, but what about the granting of financial assistance by the ESM?
Just as before, it doesn't state into which way it's to grant financial assistance, so it can't fall into monetary policy in this instance. No policy has been stated.
I mean, to be fair, the ESM treaty does mention a maximum lending volume to the tune of 500,000 million euros. Now, that might be increased if necessary. Article 41 specifies how payments by member states of paid-in shares should be paid. And Article 38 also works very closely with the IMF, and I understand the IMF solution was to lower wages, amongst other ideas, to meet these objectives.
All countries are entitled to use the IMF. The TFEU didn't create that privilege.
I didn't say that.
I know what you're trying to say, but in order to get out of this crisis and be prepared for the next one, we need financing. The IMF can't provide the required funds on its own. But as well as financial support, it can give technical support. We can't lose track of the problems we are facing.
What I'm trying to say is the whole ESM treaty gives me a cold chill. You're talking about transparency. If you read Article 34, it talks about professional secrecy, not professional confidentiality, but secrecy, like some sort of Masonic order.
You know all about that.
Hang on. Article 35 grants immunity to the chairperson of the Board of Governors, the governors themselves, the directors and their managing directors, and other staff members from legal proceedings. And it says they shall enjoy inviolability in respect of their official papers and documents.
Now that's going too far.
If we allow this to go through, we allow them to place themselves above the law. Is that what you think we should do?
Well, this is interesting. Article 37 basically leaves any dispute to the interpretation of the ESM Treaty and its bylaws, whatever they are, between any ESM member and the ESM, or between ESM members to be resolved by the Board of Directors. Disputes shall be decided on by the Board of Governors. But if we read on, it says, an ESM member contests the decision, then the dispute shall be submitted to the Court of Justice of the EU, and the decision will be binding.
Well, there you have it.
Wait, don't forget about Article 35. Everyone's immune from prosecution. So if the powers that be decide to play silly games that result in a dispute between member states, we can all sit in court scratching our asses, because no one needs to show up apparently. Huh?
What's your solution then? Some sort of permanent instrument has to exist. Yes, the bankers get off because they can just up and leave. The poor people, on the other hand, can't. They're the ones to lose their pensions, their houses, their jobs. It's the way it is. There's no easy way of getting out of this. It has been decided by all the countries in a democratic way that a stabilizing mechanism is the way out of this crisis. We are the judiciary, not the parliament. I am not expecting us not to have opinions, but I am expecting us to do our jobs. If we throw obstacles in the way, the outcome will likely be more disastrous.
I don't think anybody is saying that some sort of mechanism is not needed. We're saying there should be some transparency. If the Commission is able to play such a role, and if in the ESM Treaty we, the Court, are to be making the deciding vote in a dispute, then why the secrecy? Why the immunity? It all bears heavily on the EU. But the decisions on accountability are beyond the grasp of the EU. Vanguard and Costa, as the cases that followed, enabled us to give rights to the citizens, to make their respective governments accountable. I was happy with those judgments, but this ESM can potentially damage and harm the average citizen, and this turns out to be the case. The Board of Governors, just like the irresponsible bankers, can poof, up and leave with impunity. It all seems a little off.
Gentlemen, are we in agreement that the competence held by the Union under Article 3(1)(c) TFEU in the area of monetary policy for the Member States whose currency is the euro is unaffected by Decision 2011-199?
We're in agreement.
We are all agreed.
Splendid. Let's move on to our next contender.